if you have a moment, look at your phone.
If I have to go J.J. Abrams or George Lucas, I gotta go. George Lucas loves hamburgers.
I have a theory that the bearded youth movement was started.
Whoa.
I've never had a porn dork on.
Whoa.
Of course, you're a diamond. You're a Renaissance dork.
Whoa.
I wrote to Sigmund Freud because I thought I was crazy.
Whoa. Where is this conversation going? Whoa.
I'm too lazy to do a podcast, so I appear on other people's podcasts. This is podcast.
Welcome to the show. I am that Chris Gore. This is PodCRASH. This is the show where you get to hear a different podcast each week in which I appear as a guest. You get to discover new shows. I get to talk about a variety of topics. This week, crashing a show called The Dork Forest, hosted by Jackie Kashian. And The Dork Forest is a show where she basically interviews comedians and interesting people about what they dork out about. And there's all kinds of different dorks. You can be a stamp collector and you're a dork. You can dork out about Star Wars. You can dork out about movies. You can dork out about board games. You can dork out about Lord of the Rings. You can dork out about anything. So every person that she brings on the show dorks out about something, and I have maybe too many things I can possibly dork out about. I'm really excited to make this announcement to you. I will be at the San Diego Comic-Con. Yes, I worked out all my badge stuff. I'm going to be at the San Diego Comic-Con, and I'll be doing PodCRASH Live, actually, at San Diego Comic-Con on Thursday, July 18th. 7 p.m. at the San Diego Convention Center. It's room 25ABC. It's going to be awesome. I can't tell you who the special guests are, but it's going to be epic. 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Thursday, July 18th. Put that on your calendar for San Diego Comic-Con. A couple other quick announcements. There is a PodCRASH app. If you have an Android device, there is a PodCRASH app available. I'm hoping by the time that you hear this, there will also be the iPhone and iPad version of our PodCRASH app, which kind of takes all the content, throws it all in one place. And I think you'll like it. And it's also free in the App Store for Android and for iTunes. Or for the Apple Store to get your apps. The Apple Store for the apps. I never put that together. Apple Store is apps. Maybe that's where apps came from. Applications? I thought it came from applications. Maybe it comes from Apple. Also, I'm hoping by the time that you hear this, that my very first comedy album, Celebrities Poop, will be available for pre-order on Amazon and on iTunes. So go to Amazon.com and just look up Celebrities Poop, and you will be able to pre-order the album. It's coming out right around Comic-Con, around, I think, July 16th. I think July 16th is when the album is coming out. And so, but you can pre-order it now. You should be able to by the time you hear this. Hopefully. If not, just keep looking. It'll come up. It will come up. Oh, one quick announcement too. If you want to show your support for PodCRASH, join Dollar Shave Club. We all shave. I like to shave my face. I shave other places too. Women shave. This is for everybody. Well, this will save you money and time by joining Dollar Shave Club. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/Chris. Simple, high-quality razors, guaranteed, sent to you on schedule. Every month you get a new pack. I am signing up for this because that's a way that I can actually support my own show, which in a way supports me. So go to dollarshaveclub.com/Chris. Okay, so before I get to this week's crash, got to tell you about a weird situation that came up. I am a big fan of using the Twitter, of course. If you listen to the Rehash podcast with Matt O'Brien, you know a lot about Twitter and whatnot, and how comedians use it and whatever. But there's a comedian named Nathan Fielder. Okay, he's at Nathan Fielder. And he did something that I thought was interesting, which was retweeted by a buddy of mine, Gavin Purcell. And he said, this is what he said, okay, in his tweet, which I thought was funny. Experiment, text the person you're dating, quotes, I haven't been fully honest with you, close quote. Then don't reply to them for 1 hour and tweet a pic of their response. Okay, so that's what Nathan Fielder says. Basically, text a person, I haven't been fully honest with you. And I thought, well, I've seen a couple girls, and so I would try this experiment. So I did this without really thinking fully ahead at what could transpire by texting this to a girl who barely knows me, and maybe we've talked or seen each other a couple times, and we haven't fully in the relationship. We're just sort of, it's not serious. Trust me, not serious. But just sent her, I haven't been fully honest with you. So, I sent it to one girl who was completely confused, but didn't really have an interesting reply. But another girl actually, another girl texted back. Well, first of all, I waited an hour, and I texted, I haven't been fully honest with you. Her first thing she says is, okay. That's all she says. Then she says, goes an hour later, and I haven't responded to okay. She says, question mark. There's 4 question marks here. And I'm not going to tell you who this is. She would be upset. She's already, you'll hear. She says, you actually have a vagina? Or you're really married? Or you are actually gay? Lol. And I waited maybe half an hour. And then I said, this was part of a humorous Twitter experiment. Please don't hate me. I'm about to tweet about it. And I didn't realize when I said the second part, which is I think what Nathan Fielder actually was hoping would happen. If I just told her, because I said, I haven't been fully honest with you, and then I said, oh, this was just sort of a funny thing, and I'm going to tweet about it. Then she thinks that my entire relationship with her was just a funny thing that I was doing as an experiment. She says, all the shit with me? So I've been some joke? And that's why you bothered to go through the trouble of liking all my photos and commenting? Wow. I'm sorry you find me a funny joke. That's too bad. You'll never know what you're missing. I'm actually a pretty amazing person. Do me a favor and leave me some dignity. Don't use my name. How dumb am I? Wow. When was I mean to you? You're considering me a bitch because of what? You know what? I was just a study, a game. So why am I bothering? I was really nice to you just because I said something I couldn't jump on a plane. Anyways, it goes on. I'm an idiot. Why did I do that? Nathan Fielder. If I run into him, well, I guess I'll have a funny story to tell. But boy, I really think what's funny is what he didn't say, which was, now I haven't been fully honest with you is fine. But then the second half of that is how do you explain it? Because any explanation is going to be doing so much backpedaling that you kind of fuck it all up, which is what I did, but it's probably consistent with my my recent luck. So there you go. Nathan Fielder, either you've ruined my life or helped me dodge a bullet, but I'm not going to follow you. So thank you for that. All right, let's get to this week's crash because it's a really good one. On the show, as I was saying, hosted by Jackie Kashian. Now, Jackie's a comedian. She was recently on Conan, and she tours all over. I mean, she tours all over the world. And the Dork Forest, it's sort of about discovering those weird and sort of slivers of dorkdom. Because Jackie is an incredible dork herself, and I went to her place where this was recorded, and her place is just like covered with like amazing action figures and collections and just cool stuff. I mean, her husband is a complete dork also. I mean, they're really like dorks of a feather, if that makes sense. So, anyways, it's also Dork Forest is part of the All Things Comedy Network, which is a whole bunch of other comedy shows. And Dork Forest is among my favorite. If you ever like heard comedians on different kinds of podcasts and they kind of say the same stuff, whatever. The cool thing about Jackie's show is you'll get to know aspects of a person you never thought existed. You know, I mean, you want to hear about your favorite comedian stamp collection. This is the show where you'll hear about that. You won't hear me talk about that, but here we go. This is probably one of my favorite appearances and one of my favorite podcasts. Jackie Kashian's The Dork Forest.
What I've decided for the purposes of today's show, because of course you're a diamond, you're a Renaissance dork, you've got it all going on. We're going to go J.J. Abrams.
Yes. Let's talk about the fact that now he is in charge of the 2 largest science fiction fantasy franchises
ever
in the universe, Star Wars and Star Trek.
Let's pretend that I can't remember anything. Let's pretend that, right? Who is he? I know he is.
J.J. Abrams, from the television.
From television, right?
He's done everything. Alias and Lost and a million other things. And this is why I feel like, I think people that come from the realm of television, I think have ended up becoming better filmmakers because I feel like you exercise your writing muscles more, you get more feedback.
Oh, because of the number of episodes and the number of...
Right. Number of episodes, but also feedback. I feel like feedback from an audience, whether it be reviews from critics, whether it be,
in
ratings.
Television, more instantaneous than movies?
Instantaneous feedback feedback. You can go, oh, that wasn't a great episode. Oh, here's what. And I feel like you're learning, whereas like a screenwriter or a filmmaker, screenwriters generally get a film like from concept to on the screen
5
about
years?
7 years is average.
7.
Yeah, 7 is average. So you're not getting that kind of instant feedback. So I kind of feel like some of the better filmmakers have come from the world of TV.
Right.
I think that his reinvention of the Star Trek universe.
Did you like that?
I did like it. I did.
Right.
I like the idea that it's like he changed the timeline, so he didn't negate the thing that like it would drive nerds crazy to like. What do you mean none of that really happened? Kirk fought a Gorn, like all of that would be upsetting. And the fact that he changed the timeline is like, well, these are just going to be new stories with the same characters you love. I think was brilliant. What he's going to do with Star Wars, I don't know. I just hope that there's not lens flares or time travel. Although there
with
could
Star Wars?
With Star Wars, yes.
Now, why do you fear lens flares? What are lens flares?
I mean, if you watch that first Star Trek, he's just such a fan of it's basically a light pointed at the lens, which is technically something you're told in film school never to do. You never point the light at the lens because it creates a flare. He used it as a look for Star Trek.
Okay.
So, some people.
I only saw the Star Trek movie once. Chris Pine, right?
Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it, but I saw G.I. Joe Retaliation the other night and I enjoyed that.
Right.
So know in your heart that I will watch a test pattern if it changes colors often enough.
Well, are you a Star Trek fan?
I am, but I'm
old school, like what?
Original series and Next Trek and Voyager. I didn't like Deep Space Nine as much just because I'm wrong. I understand.
What do you mean you're wrong? No, I also am not a fan of Deep Space Nine.
Just because they never went anywhere.
You never went anywhere, yeah, because they're like, we're on a space station.
And as much as I love the Ferengi, and because I'm Armenian, I can't.
Aren't they the Armenians of the galaxy?
That's what my brother was. He was like, they're just
I'm
like
Quark.
Armenian. Are you Quark? And, yeah. So I love Star Trek, and I love Star Trek more than not. I would have to say I'm more of a Star Trek dork than a Star Wars dork.
Really?
Just because I like the hope that is in Star Trek more than Star Wars is just, it's, stormtroopers and ninjas and fighting and it's awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm on board, people. But Star Trek has like, we're growing as a people. It's nice.
No, I've always liked that also. I feel that though J.J. Abrams turned Star Trek into Star Wars.
Kind of. It's much more actiony. It's much more, it's a lot more. What did, Matt Weinhold wrote possibly the best diatribe about how much he didn't like the Star Trek movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he was right on all points, and I'll put a link to it in the notes, but I still enjoyed it. I still liked it. He didn't like, he thought that the giant drill from space felt more like an aliens thing or I forget it might have been an X-File. I forget what the analogy was, but it wasn't Star Trek enough. Mm-hmm. It was more action movie enough.
Well, yeah, with the whole space diving thing, I think is very Star Wars. It's the action. I mean, there's even sort of a rip directly from the original Star Wars. I'm talking about before they retitled it A New Hope, where Kirk is on his motorcycle looking over at them building the Enterprise, sort of contemplating his future to some soaring emotional score. Is Luke Skywalker looking at the twin sons of Tatooine wishing he could get off the farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same movie. I just feel like it's sort of like if I have to go J.J. Abrams or George Lucas, I got to go J.J. So I think Episode 7, I'm excited about it, and I
have hope for it. I have a lot of hope for it.
I feel like, I do also, and I feel like I miss liking Star Wars. And I want to make sure I attribute that quote to Rob Schraub, who said that I miss liking Star Wars. I kind of feel that as well. And I've talked about it before. I was not a big fan of the Star Trek Into Darkness. And in fact, the more I think about it, the more I kind of despise that movie. But I think it's actually a really good Star Wars movie. It's just not a Star Trek movie. I don't know. I don't know if Star Trek could really be made well now. I mean, it seems like we don't live in an optimistic age anymore. And even the whole Star Trek Into Darkness. I mean, Star Trek was never this dark. I mean, there may have been dark moments or dramatic moments, but it wasn't like this it wasn't like Into Darkness, where it really is kind of it's like a dystopian future in a sense. I mean, and the thing that really bothered me also about Into Darkness is the sort of disingenuous quote at the end about, I just thought that like Star Trek was about discussing those kinds of issues, but in a roundabout way, not so directly and not so obviously and in your face. It just didn't work for me. All right, back to the Dork Forest.
Yeah, Andy is living in constant fear that I'm going to recycle, give to Goodwill, or throw away something that he's collecting.
Oh, you would never do that.
No, I would not. I wouldn't do it just because it's his stuff, A.
Right.
I'm not going to throw away his stuff. I will stack it somewhere.
Right. Organize it.
I will. There will be a place where he will find a stack of items.
Display it correctly.
And, he's got to be in charge of displaying stuff because and it's funny because when we moved in together, the comic book parade that came through here.
Oh, did he have long boxes? How many long boxes?
Oh, he's got thousands of comic books, and he said you'll never see them. I promise. Because I was like, what the hell is happening here?
Oh, but as collectors, we count by long boxes. I have 6 long boxes.
Okay, he's got and he said that he bought. Oh, hey.
Oh, wait, we have a caller.
We have a caller.
What's your question for Jackie?
Hi, I'm Bill from St. Louis. Jackie, have you ever thrown out anything of Andy's? That's it. Hey, love the show. Thanks.
That might be a little hot for Patrick.
Okay.
What I did was I did ask him probably a year ago or 2 years ago. I said, will you do me a favor and go through your boxes, go through the comics? And because I am on board, I am reading 40 comics a month.
I like to read them. I don't like really
you don't
collect.
Keep them?
Well, there's some that I've like, cause I read them every year. Like Watchmen, I'll read once a year. The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, you'll do the reread.
I'll reread. So these are ones I reread and they're usually in hardcover when they republish them.
Sure.
So I'm not so much a collector as a reader, and then like I give a lot of comics away.
Yeah.
And now they're worthless. It sucks. Like the general value of comics, unless they're like some of the, action comics.
Unless there's one.
Right. Unless it's rare, but comics are not rare anymore.
They aren't rare. And I told him, I said, I asked him, I said, will you go through your comics and keep 3 categories of comics and try to get rid of these other comics? And he goes, okay, what 3 categories? And I said, well, ones that you'll reread. One day, whether you have or will.
I feel
like if you feel like you will.
I feel like Andy and I could do a podcast just for collectors because I am literally organizing stuff and cleaning. I'm as passionate about that as I am as my love of pornography. I love.
You have a love of pornography.
Oh, of course. Who doesn't? Okay. All
right.
I mean,
you could have been a porn dork. I've never had a porn dork on.
I know a lot about porn just from having like my first job in high school. I lied about my age and I was 16 years old and said, I'm 18 in Michigan.
Oh, in Michigan.
Michigan. I lied about my age, said I was 18 when I was 16. I worked at a video store that carried pornography. So I've sort of seen the history of, going from the old days of VHS, where movies were shot on film and had stories and women were more natural back then.
Women looked like women instead of something else, right?
Exactly.
Nobody had their boobs bolted on.
Right. They didn't have them bolted on
and their asses were built up from the ground.
Right. And they had their own sort of Dork Forest, if you hear what I'm saying.
Right. I guess that there's no hair now. There's a lot of a lack of hair. Everybody's just squeaking against each other hairlessly.
Not a fan of it.
Not
a fan.
I have a theory that the bearded youth movement was started because even 19-year-old men are like, you don't have any hair down there? I'm going to bring it. Because I can't go down there. I don't want to have sex with a 9-year-old. So I'm gonna. Yeah.
I feel the same way. I'm like, okay, as a one-time thing, maybe as a fetish, fine. But like to have that be a regular thing, I don't know. And a lot of women are into that these days, and I'm not in favor. I will request something else from the menu.
It's a young woman's game. It's if you look around, all the women under 30, they don't have any pubic hair. But
I know. I've heard of some lasering it off.
Right, just calling.
What if you? Just calling it. It's like I don't want to deal with that anymore.
Ever
done.
Yeah. Electrolysis done.
Yeah, genetics, whatever.
Right. Yeah. And it, you need eyebrows to keep sweat out of your eyes. I'm uncertain the purpose of pubic hair to keep sweat out of your parts.
I don't know.
And then I guess men are trimming it way back. And
well, that serves another purpose. Making your penis look larger.
Does it make it look larger?
Well,
because it comes out of but it's always nice to find a penis.
Right.
You're just like, oh my God, where is it? Oh, there it is. Awesome. Your Forrest is large, sir. And, Yeah, whatever. We're all uncomfortable now. Anyway,
Yes,
just me-
yes,
just me in
exactly.
my head.
Where is this conversation going? We started talking about comics.
J.J. Abrams.
Talking about, So, yes, I knew that this would happen. We just had one topic to kick
Well,
things
and
off.
that's what it is. We would tend to weed off a little bit in the forest.
Right. But the collecting thing, like, I've always been I was, as a kid, this is how nerdy I am. A couple things that made me nerdy as a kid was, I would clean my room once a week and look forward to it on Fridays.
Oh,
Clean and
interesting.
organize.
Okay.
Secondly, I built a movie theater in the basement of my house using my mom's laundry chute. I cut a hole in the drywall and I put a Super 8 projector in there. This is before VHS, right?
Right,
This is
right.
like in the
So you had a
70s.
projection booth?
I had a projection booth no, I did. I had a projection booth in the basement. Then I ran a little wire to a speaker so that you couldn't hear the click, 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 click of the projector. So you could just watch the movie. And the neighborhood kids would come over. I was like 8, 9 years old and I would show movies to them.
How long did you have that? No.
I mean, that was until my mom sold that house. So
Right,
through
right.
high school, but I always had that. That was like where I would show my Super 8 sound movies.
And so you had a Super 8 camera.
Yes, I
and
did.
shot movies when you were a kid.
I made movies when I was a kid. I made like all kinds of, none of them are on IMDb.
No.
But I did make
You were a child. You get to.
I made a fake documentary called Cafeteria Food, The Untold Story, which
Nice.
was,
I love that.
It was trays of food. It was set up like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I had all the days of the week with a tray of food in the menu, and the food was made from clay. And then I did clay animation with the food kind of
Stop motion,
weird anime. I've did stop motion since I was.
Do you still
9.
have those?
I have transferred them to VHS. I should digitally transfer them and upload them to YouTube.
That's what people want to see. They want to see. Have you ever heard of a program called Get Mortified?
Let's Get Mortified.
It's essentially where you show or do something that you created when you were a child.
Oh wow, I have a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
I had like 2 hours worth of movies I made from time I was little to high school.
You wouldn't. You should talk to the Mortified people because
Wow.
that would be.
I've written many things down on this card since I've been here. This is how I know I'm on a really good podcast. I'm taking notes.
You should take notes about things you want to do.
Although this will
But,
probably be in the show notes.
So,
You do show notes for your show?
I do show notes,
love that.
and Get Mortified. I will link that. That'll
Oh
be
my God,
that'll be
Get
exciting.
Mortified. I am so down with that.
Because what I have is, and I've submitted it, and they haven't been interested to hear me reading from my journal from when I was 13, and I wrote to Sigmund Freud because I thought I was crazy.
Really?
Yes, because I saw an episode of MASH. I don't know if you ever saw that episode of MASH where
No, no. I watched
Sidney
MASH when I was a
Freeman. Sidney Freeman wrote to Sigmund Freud. That's who he wrote to. And my dad called me crazy one time, and I was like, maybe I am crazy. Well, what do you think? So I love that idea that when there is some sort of technology, how it actually affects mankind, how it affects the situation.
Yeah, someone should do a science fiction movie about everyone getting like these things you can hold in your hands that just completely start taking up all of your time. So like before
there was an episode of Star Trek where Wesley Crusher was the only one who wasn't addicted to that video game.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that one?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like what I feel like with our mobile devices now. It's like so hard. I love to go out. I love to sort of take pictures of people sitting at booths in restaurants where there are like 4 people and they're all looking at their devices.
Yeah. Do you know who Karen Kilgariff is? She is head writer on Ellen for a while, but she has been on the Dork Forest. Her dorkdom, Sandra Bullock.
Wow. I love Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
Oh, she's so funny.
But Karen Kilgariff, guitar, does songs. Funny songs. And one of her songs, Greg Barrett produced her album, and one of her songs is, the chorus is, if you have a moment, look at your phone. And
that is awesome.
It's such a great song. And it's just, what are you going to do when the grid goes down?
I feel like, and I catch myself doing it where I like look and I'm like,
oh, you are not made of stone.
and I'm like
sure.
deleting spam while I'm driving. Why the fuck am I doing that? Oh wait,
Right.
you can bleep that, right?
No. Well, here's the thing. We could, if we're going to admit horrible driving situations,
Right,
because
right.
I got a ticket probably 3 or 4 months ago, for
checking-
using my iPad
Oh my
on the
God.
5, and the cop
no.
was so furious with me. He was livid. He was like, that is worse than your phone. And I said, I almost tried to defend myself, and then I was like, I don't have a defense. But we were at stopped when I used it. I mean,
Right.
But what I've done since is I have put my iPad away.
Yes.
Anyway, and I am hands free with the phone, and if I'm on the phone, but
Yeah, I don't like talking on the phone while I'm driving just because I feel like it's just a distraction. It's like I get way into the conversation.
Oh, it is a distraction.
And then that's why it's like you were talking about listening to episodes of I'm actually similar but lazy with that. I have a DVD player in my car and I listen to DVD commentaries or I will listen to my favorite movies. So I put the movie on. I'm not looking at the player. The player's like just in the back or whatever.
Right.
But I run it through my audio system. And so I just listen to movies. So similar thing to you, but I didn't do that step. I mean, that's amazing.
You didn't rip them.
Yeah, I didn't rip them.
I have a DVD ripper, which will just rip the audio off the DVD.
I love that.
I know it's from China. And, very tempted. But, the whole thing is I remember I was listening to something. I think I was listening to a book on tape, through my car. And then
I love books on tape. I'm very well listened.
Yeah. Are you well?
Well listened. I love to listen to books.
What do you like to listen to?
Just Chuck Palahniuk. I mean, right now I'm
Chuck Palahniuk.
Yeah.
What's he written?
Stuff. Fight Club and Survivor is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Yeah, Diary, Lullaby. I mean, his stuff is really dark.
Are they all,
Palahniuk is probably, you know what, I'm probably mispronouncing it. Considering the amount of time I mispronounce your name, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing Palahniuk, but Survivor's one of my favorites. If you could listen to Survivor,
aren't they like midlife coming of age stories kind of?
No, not at all. They're dark, weird. You have no idea. You can't trust the narrator because you don't know who they really are in the story. Things twist, and usually you have to listen to the very, very end to unravel exactly what's going on. And Survivor is one of the best twists ever if it's ever put into a movie. I mean, if they ever make a movie of Survivor, it'll be brilliant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's to me better than Fight Club. It's incredible. Survivor.
Okay. I saw Fight Club.
Yeah, Fight Club was amazing. I mean,
I know so many men of just of every age, I think, but there's something so viscerally that connects with guys.
Yeah.
That they're like, it changed my life. It was the most important. I mean,
that's a movie I watch once a year, maybe every couple months, depending on what I'm going through.
It just feels like it resonates with men in a way. I mean, cause I liked it. I mean, I enjoyed it. I was like, oh, I get it. But I don't think I get it. I think that there is something happening on a cellular level with men folk.
Punching another person's face.
Punching my own face is where I think it falls apart. Right. I mean, and it's not that I'm not beating myself up, people. But there is something, there is a disconnect as I get older and I can see things just from a little bit of a distance. You know how like do you feel this as you get a little older? I can I don't see the racism. I see the differences between races.
Right.
And I see the differences between men and women. And it doesn't feel like the knee-jerk racism. It doesn't feel like knee-jerk sexism. It doesn't feel like anything that is just a reaction from being taught as a child.
Right.
It feels like a very real, that's what happens when black women gather. This is what happens when white women gather. And so it's,
what happens?
What does happen? Well, it's a secret.
Yeah.
And,
when white women gather.
Why won't that be the name of my next album?
Yeah.
I was just on Tig Notaro's podcast with David Huntsberger.
I didn't know that she did a podcast.
Yeah, it's called Professor Blastoff.
Wow.
And it's ostensibly science-y.
Wouldn't it be easier if we made a list of comedians that don't do podcasts?
You would think, except for, I mean, I think everybody's doing them now, but they're super fun. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Whenever anyone says I want to do a podcast, I'm like, you should do one. And, because people are like, well, what if it's not good? And I was like, well, then you stop doing it.
Yeah. Fight Club is one of those movies. I have to watch it. I have to watch it once a year just to reconnect with that side of myself and that sort of like, that sort of anger that I think drives at least me towards aspiring to some level of achievement and doing something, not like the characters do in Fight Club, but just sort of realizing that so much of what we're fed in the media is just utter bullshit, made to distract us so that we don't actually work on things or think about things that are important. And Fight Club kind of really speaks to me in that way. All right, back to the Dork Forest.
What I'm hoping, I can only hope, and I've said this before, is that George Lucas is sitting at his home thinking to himself, how can I fix American graffiti?
No, he's
Is
already
there
done
some
it.
way
Oh, he's
that I could-
digitally.
Has he tweaked American Graffiti?
You don't know this?
I do not know
He
this.
re-released it.
I've been making this
in
joke
theaters.
for years.
Oh, you're not joking.
I'm not joking. He fucked with American Graffiti.
Go on Amazon and look at the various editions on DVD. He did release it limited theatrical release on its anniversary, and then put out a DVD. And you might hate this. Anakin's speedster from the beginning of Star Wars Episode VII, Attack of the Clones, the speedster is the vehicle that he steals on Coruscant and then chases down the bounty hunter that tried to kill Padme. Oh, I'm well versed even in the movies I don't like
Right.
of the Star Wars films. That speedster, the yellow speedster, he jumps in it, right? And then grabs Obi-Wan, and then they're chasing the bounty hunter. And okay, that speedster is in American Graffiti. He digitally put it at the Mel's.
I feel like you're lying.
I am not lying. We're going to Google image it. What's your Wi-Fi?
And,
what's your Wi-Fi? My Wi-Fi password in it's Gotham City free Wi-Fi is my Wi-Fi.
It's
your
Andy
Wi-Fi
and
is
Jackie. Andy and Jackie, all lowercase.
nothing. Not Dork Forest HQ. Not like
No, it's not Panera Bread. It isn't anything.
You have to. All right, now we have to have another. You have to rename your Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi network?
You have to rename it because when you look, I took time doing this. I actually researched, top Wi-Fi, like what are some of the best, like the funniest.
Oh,
You've
right.
got to look.
Oh, okay.
You've got,
well, because Pete Lee, who
Those
is
are hilarious.
a comic from Minneapolis, has been on the program. Go back in time.
Yeah.
Much like when John DeBoer was on. He was on the Acme 20. Anyway, his Wi-Fi is Panera Bread because he lives above a highway in New York City. And so his wife is walking down in their apartment building. He's walking down the aisle and the corridor, and one of their neighbors says, "Hey, Jamie, did you know that there's a Panera Bread around here somewhere?" And she's like, "No, Pete's a dick. And he wants people to get off the highway and think there's a Panera Bread around here."
oh my God.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's why he does it, because Pete Lee's hilarious.
Wow. No, I like doing stupid crap like that too.
Sure,
I feel like he and I
the
would get
hilarity
along.
never ends.
We would get along. But yeah, so we will go on the internet, post the show, and in the show notes,
That
you
is
will
the
have
meanest.
a
George
photograph.
Lucas has lost his tiny lizard mind.
You're going to see in the show notes a photograph of Anakin Speedster that was digitally put into American Graffiti.
I hate
in the
him.
cut that you can get on
I mean, it's
Blu-ray.
his movie, but Jesus
He
H.
also digitally recreated THX 1138. This is a guy that's like, I guess I feel like he's the kind of guy that really...
He has no new stories to tell. He has to just go fuck with his old stories.
Yeah, and then I feel like he really could have used the writing help on those Star Wars prequels. We won't get into that. We don't want to get into the prequels and all
Well,
that
yeah,
stuff.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, I try. There is a very real... There's a very real thing where I try to let people have their moment, It's his thing. He can break his own toy if he wants. It's
Right.
his toy, And I'm like, yeah, but it meant a lot to me too.
Also, it's weird because, I had the opportunity once to interview Gary Kurtz. Gary Kurtz is the producer of the original Star Wars.
Okay.
He also produced The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then they had a falling out. And George Lucas's movies were, Gary Kurtz, along with Lucas's then wife, were the only two people who could say no to George.
Okay.
He surrounds himself with yes men, and this is what we get,
Right. A mess.
A mess, exactly. So Gary Kurtz said he was very polite, very respectful of George when I was asking him when the special editions of Star Wars came out, when they replaced almost every shot in Star Wars special effects shot with a digitally changed shot. He said that he didn't mind them fixing matte lines and things that were incorrect, and
Sure.
it could be, fixed. But what he did mind is that because the rebel attack on the Death Star, they had changed a lot of those shots, the music cues were off. So if you watch the original, you have your original VHSs, and then you watch like the special edition, the music doesn't match the action on screen because it was very carefully orchestrated.
It turns out.
By John Williams, but also cut to the action of the music.
By the editors.
He ignored it. Yeah, the editor being his wife, who
So
won,
the 37
Marcia Lucas, who won the Oscar, one of the few Oscars Star Wars won, because it was nominated for Best Picture in 1977. It won for Best Editing, and after Marcia Lucas got her Oscar, George said to her, "I guess you're a pretty good editor."
Oh, Jesus.
True story.
True story. Another
story.
great story that makes George Lucas look like the biggest tool bag on the planet.
Well, I don't know just about Star Wars. I know way too much about the making of Star Wars. And one of the best books, if anyone else is curious and would like to dork out about Star Wars in ways that are amazing. There's a great book. It's not, you won't find it in stores, but it's really the most authoritative and real account of the making of Star Wars called Empire Building.
Okay.
And it's more from Gary Kurtz's point of view. It talks about the development of Flash Gordon.
Okay.
That George Lucas originally wanted to make Flash Gordon. He just wanted to make Flash Gordon and like make an adventure. It was going to be Flash Gordon. Want to make those old, Buster Crab serials. Did you ever watch those?
Yeah, because he's of that age. He's of that age. He wanted to make.
He grew up with those. I saw him in reruns, and I saw it because Flash Gordon played before Saturday Night Live in Detroit. It started at 11 p.m. There'd be episodes of Flash Gordon, and then SNL was on at 11:30. And if I didn't fall asleep, I could watch SNL. I remember doing everything I could just to stay up, like taking rags of cold water, putting them on my face. I'm 9 years old. I'm going to stay up. I'm going to stay up past 11:30. I'm going to see SNL.
I loved Flash Gordon, which they played at Saturday afternoons in Wisconsin.
So he wanted to make Flash Gordon. There were all these issues with the rights. They were trying to tell him what to do. And he's like, forget it. I'll just write my own thing. And then it was like years of writing this thing called the Star Wars. I mean, the early 70s was him like just coming up with ideas that were just out of his life. Chewbacca was famously his dog. The R2-D2 was Reel 2 Dialogue 2, which was a reel of audio that was handed to him while they were cutting the sound for American Graffiti.
Okay.
Oh, pass me R2-D2.
Okay.
Reel 2 Dialogue 2.
Oh, wow.
That's where that came from. So all of his are just all of
his. How about C-3PO?
Anything? I have no idea where that came from. But there's a lot of those kinds of bizarre stories.
Fun facts.
But Millennium Falcon was based, of course, on the shape of a hamburger. I mean, George Lucas loves hamburgers.
What?
The shape of the Millennium Falcon is like a hamburger. Yeah. It's just like a hamburger. It's shaped like a hamburger. I mean, look at the Millennium Falcon. It's a circle, got the little thing on it, but it's a shape of a hamburger. It's a circle. And he said, make it look like a hamburger. All right, that's it for this week's Crash. I really want to thank Jackie Kashian. I mean, she's doing a service to the nerd community by doing the Dork Forest and giving nerds like myself an opportunity to discuss sort of layers of dorkdom that I don't often get to talk about. Actually, I do get to talk about it on some other podcasts, but not with the kind of level of detail that she would allow me. So thank you, Jackie, for that. And you can follow Jackie Kashian at Jackie Kashian, spelled Kashian on Twitter. You can find the Dork Forest on Facebook, and just go to JackieKashian.com, KASHIAN.com. I want to thank you for listening. Hey, PodCRASH, you should know, is part of the Sideshow Network of shows. Check them out at sideshownetwork.tv. And actually, there's a Sideshow Network app for iPhone and iPad, which you can get in the iTunes App Store. You can also get the PodCRASH app there as well. Either one, check it out. But definitely check out some of the other Sideshow shows. And do not forget, write this down. If you are going to be at San Diego Comic-Con in San Diego, Thursday, July 18th, 7 p.m., room 25 ABC, will be PodCRASH Live. And don't forget to look for my comedy album, Celebrities Poop, available for pre-order, and it will be out July 16th. Thank you for listening. Follow me at that Chris Gore. Follow the show at PodCRASH Show. Go to Facebook.com. There are too many plugs at the end of the show. I think Jackie and I talked about it, which you can listen to actually. You can always listen to the full episode if you think that you missed something. And because you're just getting the highlights here, you can always listen to the full episodes, which I would encourage you to do if you like some of what you hear on that pod. Listen to the full episode and then listen to other episodes of that show. And don't forget to subscribe to PodCRASH on iTunes and give us a 5-star review if you think we deserve it, and post some comments there. I've got some good comments I'm seeing that I will be reading on the show. And one last thing, let's get out of here.
Enterprise down!
If you're still listening to this, you're probably a lot like me. You're the kind of dork that collects all kinds of crazy stuff. And you could actually just like sell the stuff and get some money, or you could spend money on therapy, which would explain why you collect the stuff, or you could just spend the money on the stuff. I prefer to keep the stuff. That's just me. What can I say? And if you do that, then you and I are a lot alike, and I like you. And for that, you shall be rewarded. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope to PodCRASH with that Chris Gore, 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California, 90036. You will be rewarded with the PodCRASH Fan Club Kit. It's absolutely free. And if you keep listening, here's a bonus piece of audio from the Dork Forest. Later.
You know, I did Tom Frank. I don't know if you know Tom Frank. He's,
No, I don't know him.
Oh, you don't know?
Yeah.
He has,
but for a moment, I thought I did.
He's the greatest action figure. He's the giantest. He's amazing. Anyway, he's been on the show. He is, and he had a stand-up show at Comic-Con one year, and he said, hey, I talked to this toy company, this Japanese toy company. We can do a stand-up show in their booth. And I was like, so we're going to yell at people as they walk by the booth?
Yeah, that's awful. Yeah, you could do a podcast. You could do a podcast because people can kind of listen, check out. But doing stand-up in that context,
It was amazing.
Did it?
It worked.
Did it work? Because
it was dumb, but it was amazing.